This is Low Moon Outsiders, and the story continues. Proverbs 6:6 says, "Go to the ant, O sluggard, observe her ways and be wise." Look at what you can learn from things that God has created, other than just that God is awesome. God's creation has more to say than that he is just or that he is great. Who can learn a lesson from an ant? A wise man can. Moreover, it says a sluggard can. A sluggard can learn the error of his ways if he's willing. The ant works. Be wise by observing her ways. That's an interesting assertion. Wise men learn. Wise men overcome their weaknesses. Sometimes they do it by collecting wisdom from simple places that are actually available to everyone. And that is our very short devotional. That's today's devotional. All right. Whence last we broke in the mighty Lomonian universe. The party was endeavoring to find where a dog had run off to and stumbled into a hobgoblin war. Mind you, they did know that they were in the wild lands and that things were not great in the area.
We're just trying to get our weapon training in.
Since then, they have successfully stopped not one, not two, but 3 separate sites of sacrifice on behalf of, participated by the hobgoblins. Perpetrated by, there you go. They have been navigating by the very accurate and effective directions of a wall of ivy. Yay. And successfully so far. In last session, Lucas, in his avarice to demolish the hobgoblin champion, lost his warhorse. Later, immolation damaged his magical Asterd sword. But he did retrieve a fine-looking weapon that would serve possibly as a bastard sword from the champion of the hobgoblins that he traded his horse into. Chyron had a miraculous and heroic encounter at the end of the session, driving back a unit of hobgoblin all by himself, but did get shot in the back for his effort. Healing has been done, and the party has crept off into the wilderness. The 3 individuals that you had rescued, one of them was actually combat capable, a warrior, a militiaman, soldier, something of the sort. And now, as we pick up this story, as you are moving quietly through the woods into position near the 4th location, the soldier has taken the other 2 retrieved captives back toward Gull's Crossing. So it is just the party, the 5 of you, creeping through a dark thicket, basically. It's an area of woods. You wouldn't quite call it a forest, but it's pretty broad. You've been in it for several moments. It is peculiar in nature. The trees all seem to be kind of like dead, though it is the time of year for them to have bloomed, to have leaves, to be rustling in the night breeze. You are instead slipping between brittle, black-barked silhouettes, basically. Roots jut here and there from the ground, but this area of wood appears to be, for whatever reason, dead. It does not show signs of having been burnt out, which was your first thought when you approached it in the dark of night. It is, Asterd will tell you, about 3 o'clock in the morning. And he does say about 3 o'clock because he has matured beyond speaking the exact minutes. If anyone cares, he will say it. But he looks at his stopwatch and says, it's about 3 o'clock. And he puts it away. He checks it a few more times during the traversing the wood because he has not matured beyond checking it impulsively. As you push through the wood, only the brittle breaking of twigs and other bits of crisp detritus below you, not leaves. It does not look like this forest has generated a bed of leaves in some time. It seems as if it has been dead for some time. To go around it would have taken easily another 15 minutes or so minimum, and it very well could have been much more. You do know that when you encountered it, you remembered having seen it, but into the cliff, this forest that you're walking through, but into the cliff edge upon the precipice upon which you were fighting. So you felt like if you went due south from here to get around it to the south, you would hit the cliff edge where you know there is an abundance of hobgoblin forces. To the north, you could see the curve edge of it to stay out of it, to go around it. That moves toward the village plain, the plain where the siege is taking place. The curve was going to take you about 15 minutes, but no telling, was it going to curve and easily go around at that point, or were you going to push even further to the village plain? And so that's why you're passing through the wood instead of going around, okay? As you're moving through the wood, obviously I presume everyone is alert.
Yes.
Chyron is leading his horse, I assume, not riding.
Right.
Okay. Do we have weapons out? Because if so, if it is a magical weapon, it would give you candlelight unless you intentionally concentrate to tell it not to give light. So
Longsword out.
is it, and it is magical?
Yes.
Correct? Okay. So lit or not lit then? The moon is now in the far northeastern sky and behind clouds, so it is dark.
Say lit, unless someone expressly tells me.
Okay. It's only candlelight. It'll be visible from a long distance, but it may not be obvious what it is from
I am
long
not
distance.
fearful.
You're not? Okay, good for you. Thank you, sir. All right, so he has a long sword drawn, and it is lit like candlelight.
I'll have a sword out.
Okay. Your primary weapon, the slightly damaged, beautiful bastard sword, or something different?
I use a new sword.
The one you just got from the champion? Okay, it also sheds light. Will you intentionally calm it or no?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Make my dark vision easier.
Roll a d20 if you would.
7.
Okay. You notice that there is some resistance. Like when you willfully, you're thinking, as it's typically, you just basically go, no light. Don't shine, no light. And it is as if the sword has a certain amount of will or desire to make light, at least under these circumstances. You've had a magical sword before. Obviously, the +3 sword did this. You've probably had many times where you had caused to tell it to not light, and it never resisted like that, but this one does. But it does go out. Okay. How about Clume for weaponry?
Clume will have both of her daggers drawn.
Okay, daggers drawn, and they are magical as well. Or no?
They're
Master craftsmen, so they do not put off light. Okay. I assume you have your bow and arrow notched. Yeah, we're basically traversing a dark, dead, scary wood. That's where we're at the moment. So good time to have a bow out.
Spear, so
Not
pretty much always out. And
right.
I will try and have it dim.
Okay, so the spear does not give off light. So you don't have to dim it.
Cool, that's easy.
Most wooden weapons do not. So that's uncommon for them to do so. All right. And so, we're just going to kind of go with Lucas and Chyron leading the way. It's not a single file marching order. It's kind of a skirmish formation. The other three are sort of like spread out behind.
Magical weapons only give off light when they're wielded?
When they are held in hand. At the ready.
Any impression on why this area is dead?
No, it's bizarre. Like when you first looked at it when you walked in, you thought maybe it was burnt out. But now you can see that it's almost like the wood of the trees is more like petrified. It has a black, almost stone-like feel or look to it. Otherwise, it looks perfect. It looks like, if it were carved in stone, it looks like a tree. Has all the normal oddness of the bark and strange shapes and so on. Okay.
Do I know of any natural event that would do that?
Roll a d20. Certainly would be an uncommon thing.
Flash petrification. Is that like a disease maybe? Weather? Yeah, I guess some sort of disease could do it.
Get him out and stop fighting. 14.
Okay, so you can think of no natural occurrence that would cause it. You can hypothesize about a few magical ones. The one that rings most true in your mind is some kind of curse.
I have someone doing this ritual.
Use my.
Okay. All right. So you're progressing through the wood, and from the vicinity of Herrick, you hear a faint kind of musical vibration. And you can see that indeed the wood is balanced toward evil. And pretty much everywhere that you look, not much on the ground or the broken twigs and like that, but the trees everywhere are balanced toward evil. Okay.
I know to take balance was so pointed like that.
We should be wary. This land is cursed.
Okay. As you press on, you expect to be in the cursed wood. Now you probably could actually call it that because now it's been confirmed it may be cursed, at least from Eric's point of view. To be in there for no more than 10 minutes or so. It's not really like you're expecting it to be a long journey. And indeed, ahead you begin to see faint green. Mind you, it's dark green because it's light. There's very little light up there, but it's lighter up there. And a little bit of green like branches, leaves, brush, something ahead, and maybe 100 yards more through this. As you're walking, again, breaking little bits of what almost kind of like snapping stone, basically, little limbs on the ground and things that have fallen. There is a breeze, probably 3 to 5 mile an hour, rarely gusting to more, never more than 10, let's say. And so the smell of the place is of overturned soil. So all of you have had one occasion or another to be near a farm plowed or a grave dug or whatever. And so you just smell overturned soil and otherwise not life. You do not hear any forest sounds, no bugs, no chittering rodents, nothing. So it's eerie, but otherwise seems fairly harmless. You're now 50 yards, and you can see along the edge, all along what would be the edge of this dark wood, bushes and whatnot. There is no moonlight because it's behind the clouds, but the dark green forest colors in the distance, and very, very faintly begin to maybe hear some creatures, some cicada or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm also going to carry the shield from the champion that I got.
Okay, did you bring it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it give off light?
It does not.
Speaking of which, try to help me remember again to do experience for that +1 shield.
Okay, yep.
I will probably forget again by the end of the session. Basic.
Okay. So again, little bits of insect and that kind of thing, night birds, but they're all distant. There's nothing here. At about 20, 30 yards away, you can definitely see a line. It's like an edge where this dark forest ends and the green forest begins, and maybe it even kind of meshes over a little bit, like the life of the green forest is sort of trying to reach into the dark wood. Okay. There you see a murder of crows. There are about 20 of them, and they are perched on the edge of the cursed wood. They do not go into the green area, but they're sitting, and everyone can roll a d20.
17.
Okay, so what was the starts?
10.
Lucas?
9.
17.
12.
Okay, so not Chyron and not Herrick, which is ironic, but the other three of you all kind of get the impression that the crows are all, at least most of the time, looking in your direction. Like they will look away for a second, or they hop to a branch, and so they pay attention to the branch or that kind of thing. But they are definitely looking more at the party than anywhere else. And the light of your candle-lit weapons reflects off of their eyes, making their eyes look red. Okay. 10 yards from the edge of the wood, at least for Chyron and Lucas, who are in the lead. And then you have crossed over from the wood into what just seems to be a normal forest. The animals begin their chorus, and it's dark, dark, dark green, right? There's no light in here. And then the moonlight's not filtering in, even not, so that you can look past where there are no leaves. As you're crossing one area, you look past that forest where there's no leaves, and you can see the clouds where the moon is, and they're a little whiter, a little lighter. But then as you're moving into the forest now, you can't even see that, because the canopy is about 80%, and the leaves are over top of you. Okay? Everyone's good. We're continuing on. What? Yes, sir. Everyone's good and continuing on?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I'm remembering this. We may need to come back here.
Okay.
It's unnatural. The land has been injured and should be dealt with before it becomes a blight that attracts evil.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Hopefully we can find a way to do so.
Okay. The terrain of the forest that you're currently walking in seems to be sloping down in the direction that you are going. The forest floor is again covered with bits of detritus, broken. Now you have leaves. We have underbrush that grows 6 inches high. We have the occasional thin whipper of a tree that's coming up, trying to live probably hopelessly with no sunlight, that kind of thing. And you're picking your way through. Chyron's leading the warhorse. Its breath is visible, but even its breathing is quieted. It seems to be almost like sleeping as it walks. Mind you, it has been definitely endurance-wise tested this night. You have put it through the ringer compared to what hanging out in the corral. Okay. At which point then 2 things happen. So the first is, as it continues to go down, the land sloping down and away from you, begin to hear noises from ahead of you that Herrick and Asterd immediately recognize as frogs. They're heavily blended into the background of the cicada, but they're definitely there in number.
Might need to be careful. We might be heading into marshy area. You hear them, right?
If you don't want to miss any of the story, Low Moon Origins, Uprising, or Outsiders, like and follow our podcast. Please share it with friends. Okay. Sure enough, they get louder, and as it mellows out, everyone is now aware of the frogs, and the ground begins to get a little soft, and then before long, you can see that there is a brook running through this wood that is dead ahead, and you are coming at it in a perpendicular course-wise, so you will have to cross it. It is not large. You're not to it yet. It's dark, right? So those of you who have it, seeing on infravision, that kind of thing. But looking at it from this distance, maybe 50 yards away, it's probably going to be like 5 or 10 feet across at most. It's not going to be very big. Okay. Progressing forward. And another couple minutes, and sure enough, you're approaching the brook. You can see that the underbrush thrives near the brook, as do the trees that are growing on its edge. You're creeping through the forest, calmly walking, really, more than that, as you have not seen any opposition or trouble now for over an hour. Asterd checks the watch, puts the time at just before 4, 3:50. Okay. The second thing, as I mentioned, as you're nearing it, you can see that the land on the other side, well, you can't really see it, but it must, slopes upward away from the brook, and you can see faint orange light. And right away, it kind of gives off the impression of a light of like it's a fire, but it is very small. Like, depending on how far away it actually is, if it's a mile away, it could be a campfire, but it's probably more like a third to half a mile away, which would make it small, like small, head size.
Candle. Maybe brighter than the candle.
But it's orange in color.
Torch, maybe?
It could be like pitch burning or a lantern if it's the right kind of fuel. It's definitely not. It's not something that's spreading a lot of light. It's more looks like a very localized orange. It could be something glowing orange, like a fire hot steel, something like that. Okay. So you are at the brook. I assume. So you notice that the brook never runs deeper than about 6 inches. So you could literally cross it pretty much anywhere. It's not a problem. And you just find a place where, like, there's a lot of underbrush growing around. You just find a place where you can push through the underbrush and cross the brook.
What temperature is it?
In the high 40s, low 50s. 30 degrees higher for plate mail, 20 degrees higher for chainmail, 10 degrees higher for leather, and no armor means it's in the high 40s, so it would be chilly. But as long as you got clothes, you're fine.
Yeah. Mostly wanting to figure out if it was below freezing for the sake of taking
Nope.
the horse through the water.
Nope. The water is probably cool, but it's been in the 70s during the day in this area. Always, like all the time recently, it's been mid to high 70s. So the water temperature is probably 70 degrees.
Okay.
Unless it's coming from a deep underground spring or something, that would be the other way. Okay? So we're pushing across the brook and continuing across the wood toward the orange flame. That is the correct direction. Okay? So you push on. You continue to do well, to have no random encounters in these woods. That's amazing. Okay? And you figure you're maybe about 150 yards from the orange light. You also figure, based on the directions of the ivy, which you are using incorrectly, right? You're translating them through Herrick and Clume because you did not go back to the starting place. Okay? However, the brook was on the directions, but unfortunately you could have crossed it at so many different places, so that doesn't really help you know that you're on the right place. But you're going by the directions of the ivy, and so you figure you can't be more than a mile ahead of you and probably slightly to the left to the next sacrifice location. But now you were seeing an orange light. At about 150 yards, the orange light goes out. You're sure that it was at ground level. You could see it was low as you were walking. You're going uphill slightly. You could tell it was at ground level, but it just disappears.
Moving towards us?
It was not. You were just getting closer to it as you were walking.
Gotcha.
It was definitely not moving. And it did not look like a fire. It definitely looked like something glowing orange. Smaller than a head, maybe bigger than a fist, smaller than a head. At ground level. And now it's gone.
Well, I didn't know where it is. If you guys want
Prepared. Back to the arrow notched.
if you guys want to head slightly off the line, they might have seen our light and extinguished whatever it was they had. I can see fairly well in the dark. We can head over. I can also tend not to make much noise. I don't think it's going to be a threat. I just think it's more than likely somebody who's hanging out in the woods, potentially. Or it could be a threat.
I think we should continue on. It's a threat. It'll come to us. We'll be ready. We saw the light.
It's your judgment, Harry. It's your call.
Well, we think their path is slightly to the left from where we're going, so we're going to have to head that way eventually. I just think that if they're trying to avoid us with our light, they'll be able to. But I also know that traveling without light isn't going to work for the majority of us.
Do you believe there's a chance that this light we're seeing is related to the hobgoblins?
It's possible, but it seems like they're more trying not to attract attention.
Tend to agree. Which only reinforces my belief that we should ignore it and head on. I think the more time we waste, the more difficult this becomes.
Unless they're refugees hiding.
So,
Potentially the best thing we can do for them is deal with the problem at hand and let the hobgoblins flee the area. If they're staying hidden in the woods, it might be safer for the time being. Let's continue our path, but just pay attention and be aware that not everything may be a direct threat. I'd say you and I keep our eyes open as best we can.
Is the sword actively like fighting?
No, just when you tried to turn it off. It doesn't, and it didn't try to come back on after that, and once you shut it off, so yeah.
Just making sure it wasn't drawing any of my attention.
Like a sticky switch. Okay?
So we can continue.
No benefit, just hard to turn.
Alright, you continue creeping forward at a normal pace. Keep saying creeping, but it's not really. It's just creepy. It's not actually creeping. Okay. So on the line with the orange or diverting off? That's the question.
staying straight ahead.
Straight ahead. Okay. Yeah,
Sort of
following
towards our
your
goal.
current
Well, no,
logical
our goal
course.
is off to the side slightly.
Yes.
Up towards whatever our goal is.
Okay, so veering slightly left. All right. So by the time you get to be about 50 yards from where you did see the orange thing, it is now off to the right at about the 2 o'clock position. Okay? At least it would be if it were still there. You do not see it. However, an odd circumstance does happen. So I will need everyone to roll for surprise.
Not surprised that we're rolling for surprise. And I'm also not.
I haven't rolled a 2, so I'm
Not surprised.
Okay. So what happens is, out to the right was where that thing was. You've now veered off. You're kind of heading, so it's over there. You're heading this way. Appearing before you in the wood is what it looks to be a large warhorse. It is kind of a vanilla gold color, the whole horse. It does have a saddle, and it has chain barding. And when it comes into view, it is already heading very rapidly at you. So it appears, it was not there, essentially, or at least it was very stealthy somehow, which doesn't look like it ever could be stealthy. It's a big vanilla gold warhorse. Probably weighs in the neighborhood of 2,000 pounds. It's Clydesdale style, so it is head high to Lucas. And it appears ahead of you only about 30 yards away and is running full speed toward Chyron and Lucas when it appears. Okay, so we'll roll initiative. What your roll was 2. What is your dex bonus?
Bonus is +1.
Okay, so you have 1 segment of surprise. Everyone else can roll initiative. Okay, so the horse is thundering towards you from about 20 yards away. At its present angle, it will pass basically between Lucas and Chyron, and then Herrick is toward the rear, and so it could theoretically run him over in the process because he's kind of between you as well. Okay, missile fire, anyone? Do you want to shoot the warhorse? Okay. He declines to shoot the warhorse.
Figure Lucas or Chyron will try to take care of it. I don't know.
Okay, that's more up their alley than yours. Okay. Melee 9, 8, 7, 6.
I'm 6.
Okay. Melee 6. The horse is at 20 yards and closing fast. What do you do?
Lucas is going to turn, face the horse, and essentially, he's going to make himself look big and scary, like impose himself, sort of like
You raise your arm and shield and...
yeah, how you would approach a wild animal.
Okay.
And,
At least one you're trying to intimidate.
right.
Okay. So roll percentile dice. Looking for a high number.
I also do have constant animal friendship on. I'm not sure if this would help. 91.
Okay. And are you going to attempt to animal friendship to the horse?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So things are fluid, happening very quickly. It's thundering at you. That was initiative 6. Does anyone have 5? The horse is closing to 10 yards. Does anyone have 4?
I have 4.
Okay, so we're in 4. He is raising his hands and trying to slow or divert the horse, basically. And the horse is thundering 4 to 10 yards. It is on target to go slightly to your left. So you're kind of like moving left if you're trying to get in front of it. And it's going to go to Chyron's right. And you are holding initiative. You didn't shoot it.
So, Lucas.
I'm not gonna shoot it yet. We're kind of see what happens. I'm gonna try to move out of the way of its path. So.
Okay, roll a d20.
Or that. Running over.
Roll a d20.
4.
Okay, you can see that Herrick, who is directly to your left, is directly in line with the horse, and he instead of like preparing to fight or whatever, he looks like his eyes are wide and he's squatting down slightly, like he doesn't know what to do. He's got the spear in his hand and
I grab him.
pull him out of the way. Okay, let's roll a dex check. Okay, are you okay with him pulling you out of the way?
Sure.
Okay, I won't require. You're just going to stumble along after him, basically. You're not brain dead. You're just delayed.
I was not expecting a war
Chiron in
horse.
4.
And is Lucas in front of me at this?
You were pretty much side by side. He was to your right. The horse was going to go between the two of you. Okay, and he is now edging to try to be in the way of the horse. Like in the next 6 seconds maximum, either the horse will divert or they will collide.
Lucas, he's dropped his weapons and has his hands up like this. Basically, if the horse doesn't stop, he's going to catch it. Have I ever? It's the goal. He'll probably just get run over. Do I know if it's possible to cudgel a horse?
Yes, but not without causing the horse severe harm. You can knock it out, but it'll probably be brain damaged.
That's how people generally are too. Yeah, but like I want it to be able to recover, you know.
Yeah, it would be kind of sad.
They don't feel as well for you. All right, I guess I'll set my sword down.
Also, remember you are leading your horse, and so at any second it is probably going to react to the charging war horse. You haven't noticed it yet, and it did seem to be kind of dozing as it was walking, but at some point it's probably going to react.
I'll try to block my horse's vision the best I can and calm it.
Okay, yeah. So if you get a hold of its bridle, rather than just holding the reins,
Just turn it away.
then you can. Okay, so roll horsemanship, which for you is percentile dice, I believe.
46.
Okay, so no problem. So you turn around, you grab its bridle, you pull its head, and you do notice like it's coming to alertness right at that second, and it did start to pull away from you, but once you have a hold of its bridle, there's nowhere for it to go, and you pull it away from the horse. Okay, at which point in time you've raised your hands. The horse is charging you. It's about like maybe 7 yards, so 20 feet away, and it disappears. Like it winks out of existence. However, a second later, you hear the sound of horse hooves. You reel, everyone reels, in fact, to look, and you see that the horse is now behind the party. So it leapt 7 yards to the party, and then the party was stretched over about 4 yards, and then it arrived another 10 yards beyond that, and it is continuing to move away.
Blink horse. Don't let it get away. Cavaliers can't call mounts, can they?
Cavaliers cannot. Paladins, however, can.
How does that work?
Anytime after 5th level, the paladin basically indicates that he wants to call his holy warhorse, and a suitable animal within a reasonable location will be identified to him, and then he either goes and finds it, or it finds him, or both.
Should I assume that if I did that, blink horse? Blink horse, or?
So there's a couple problems. So for one, there's no if you activate it, there's no telling it's going to be this horse. It could be any horse within 5 miles, right? But it would be a very good horse. It's going to be a high quality, something that's particularly useful for you, that kind of thing. The other problem is this horse has a saddle, bit and bridle, saddlebags, barding, which means he probably belongs to somebody.
Okay, well,
And as a general rule, your holy warhorse will not come equipped. You will have to equip it yourself.
so I guess I don't really know what we can do to stop this horse.
At this point, it doesn't look like there's much that can be done to stop him unless somebody has a lasso and they started throwing it about 30 seconds ago.
Okay.
So that's probably out of the question. If you had a dragon, could probably chase it. It sounds pretty risky, but it could be done. Otherwise, you're going to watch it run away. Okay, there it goes. It thunders off into the distance.
Lucas collects his weapons.
Now, it is headed toward the cursed wood. It will have to cross the brook and enter the cursed wood or divert. Those will be the options. Okay. Lucas picks his sword and shield back up. And what? What do we do?
Should I follow it?
You are no longer surprised.
Are they not worth it? Starting to think we should check on that light, though. Did it look like a knight's horse? Were there weapons on it?
It did not have any weapons on it. It did have, as I said, saddle, chain barding, bit, bridle, and saddlebags.
I'm being impulsive.
You're being impulsive?
I'm being impulsive.
Okay.
I'm turning to a seagull and I'm going after the horse.
Okay. So Herrick frees himself from Asterd's grasp after you theoretically saved his life, but probably not, because it actually leapt over top of the party. And then he twists and suddenly becomes a gull and flies off into the woods in the direction of the horse.
A wood's gold.
A woods gull. A gull who wants to see.
And then, wham, I hit a tree because I can't see in the dark. Right?
I mean, it's not so dark that you can't see.
I have big eyes.
Don't want to go too low, because that's where it could be dangerous. Or too high, because there's branches. So you got to be in that middle range. 3 to 8 feet off the ground. Okay. So he is leaving. What is everyone else doing?
Did he announce that he's going after the horse?
No, but he's flying in that direction. Like his shifting is instantaneous, so it literally takes less than a second.
Yeah.
And he never was on, as a gull, he was never actually on the ground. He appeared 4 feet off the ground as a gull and was already flying. So it's really like 2 seconds and he's gone.
What is the direction supposed to be going?
The opposite direction that the horse went.
Like the horse was coming from?
Yes, like the direction the horse was coming from. That's correct.
Does anybody want to follow Herrick and a couple of us can go towards the goal? Also the orange light.
I think we should check the light and then continue on towards the sacrifice. Eric can handle himself. He's in his home territory.
There's no reason to believe that there will be any merit in checking this orange light.
Wasn't that where the horse came from?
No, he came directly from the direction that you're headed toward now. You veered off about 15 degrees. The light's over there at about the 50-yard mark, estimating, but you don't see the light anymore. It went out, right? So it's over there. Where you're actually going is due straight this way, and that's the way the horse came from.
Is there any way for me to retroactively determine that the horse was an illusion?
I mean, you could think about it, meditate on it, whatever. Look for details in your mind's eye, sure.
Okay, I'll try that.
Roll percentile dice.
Yeah, 62.
You are fairly sure it was not an illusion. In fact, you recall seeing a small brownish black blob drop from the horse, and you can now look and find feces on the ground. You see him find feces on the ground. Feces can provide a lot of information.
I bet. Are you telling me to track the horse with the feces?
I'm just telling you that,
Telling you.
just looking
You
at the
can tell
feces, you
whether
can
it's
tell
well
something.
fed and how fed.
Telling
Yeah, well fed, how
You want to
fed.
figure out what
I
he's
see.
eating, what he is, if it's not a horse.
Are you asking me to find out what it is?
Can you examine this species?
Can you look at this?
He's not there.
Leave it on the ground.
Can
Eric's
I
not there.
examine it from a distance?
I mean, you can. You'll get the best information if you taste it, but if you can just poke it apart usually.
Take its teeth.
Okay.
Aren't you a woodsman?
Leon usually carries feces in his pocket. All right. Anyway, so you poke it. You poke the feces. Yeah. So the diet of the horse is largely oats.
So well fed.
Well fed and not allowed to graze, you would think, or well trained not to graze. One or both.
Yeah.
Horse definitely
That's
belong to
being a
someone.
horse doesn't get distracted. Right.
I assume if we go the direction the horse is coming from, we will find the person that it belongs to. I assume.
It seemed pretty. From its demeanor, did it seem like it was running away from something or running towards something? Was it panicked?
It definitely looked intentional, like its face was focused.
Determined?
Yeah,
Almost more like it was running towards something.
perhaps with purpose anyway. Maybe for reinforcements. Maybe it had been called. Maybe
It's a
it's-
male police course. A male police course.
He did disappear in one place and appear in another, which is quite bizarre. They don't usually do that.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure.
Interested in giving financially to Low Moon and support the campaign? Text LMGIVE, that's LM Give, to 419-419-0095. Okay, so we'll pause there for 1 second. You guys have debated for about 2 minutes. We'll give him 2 minutes to see what happens with the horse. So obviously you soar after it. It runs toward the brook. You observe it look like it slows and kind of twists its head and it looks over its shoulder, as if it's thinking about what's behind it or that kind of thing.
Are they following me?
Yep. And then refocus its effort on the road ahead. And as it runs toward the brook, you see it disappear again and appear on the other side of the brook. So now it is definitely headed toward the dark wood.
Yeah, that's not normal.
Okay. At that point in time, you're now soaring over the brook. Unless you stop and land, you have to keep moving. You're not a hovering bird of any kind. So you are crossing the brook. He's running toward the dark wood, and then as he moves toward the dark wood, you see he slows up to kind of a broken trot, and then maybe a nervous walk. And he's right like at the edge of the dark wood, and then he kind of goes to the left about 10 yards. Now you're in his vicinity now. And then he turns around and he goes back to the right, past where he first encountered the wood, another 10 yards or so. And then he comes back to almost to the spot where he first came to the dark wood, and he stops, and you can see that he's a little sweaty. He's got some white foam around his ears, because the barding covers most of him, around his ears and on his legs, draining from his torso. And then he lowers his head to the ground as if he's going to eat something, but there's really nothing there to eat, and he doesn't eat. He's just standing there, breathing heavily and looking intently at the ground. And you have now flown through the area, so you'd have to circle around or land, depending what you want to do. Assuming you don't want to go into the dark wood.
Yeah. The stupid part of me is thinking, I can just land right on his back and then he can destroy me.
I mean, it would be virtually impossible for him to hurt you on his back.
Well, until he throws me off.
Well, yeah, but if you're still a seagull, you just fly again.
I meant
Transform.
Transform.
Yeah, well, once you transform,
I'm done.
if he gets away from you, you won't be able to keep up with him.
You still cast spells as a seagull, so.
That is true.
That is true. If only I had something like, speak with animals, animal friendship,
Charm mammal.
charm animal.
Did you say you have luck?
Actually, I have a first level X. Does it seem to offer any benefit? I also have a fourth level X. Or do I know? The fourth level X was speak with plants.
Okay. I mean, it does not offer a way to communicate with the horse, if that's what you're thinking about.
Possibly, yeah.
right to make the horse your friend.
No, I know animal friendship, so that's not it. I'm going to land kind of on a branch or something nearby it and
Okay.
see if I can get its attention. Or see if it notices me.
Okay. In front of it?
Yeah.
Okay. He does notice you. He looks up, turns his nose slightly to the side so he can get a look at you, and then goes back to looking at the ground.
There's a small chance here that it's a horse that speaks sequel. Are you trying to go through there? I doubt it, but...
He doesn't respond.
Could have been a druid that turned
All right.
into a blink.
That'd be such an awesome question.
Right.
I'm going to turn back into myself.
Okay. You just like lower yourself to the ground, or you're going to stay seated on the branch?
I'll lower myself to the ground.
Okay.
And hopefully not spook it terribly.
Okay. So he definitely looks surprised, and he takes a couple quick stomps backwards,
Yeah.
and then you see he like blinks out and appears about 5 feet behind himself.
Mhm.
So now he's about 15, 20 feet away, and he's looking at you, you think angrily, but he's not making any offensive moves.
I'm not here to hurt you, but it seemed like you were either running away from something or running towards something.
Okay.
Either way, you might need help or be helped. I doubt that you can understand exactly what I'm saying, but body language goes a long way.
Okay.
So try and advance.
You definitely think
step
there's
or
a
two
look
closer.
of, like he's thinking, he's definitely trying to process what you're saying, or at least these new variables. Okay. He edges forward, and then he rotates to the side, so he's uncomfortably close to you, and his shoulder is above your head. This is a big horse. Okay. And as he does so, he bends both of his front knees down slightly to bring the saddlebag that's on his side near to you.
I will put a hand on him so he knows that I'm there, and I'll reach for the saddlebag to see if I can. I'm guessing there may be something in there.
All right. So in the saddlebag, you see a book. The book is about 12 inches by 18 inches. It is the only thing in the saddlebag, as far as you can tell, unless there's something small on the bottom. Fills it pretty good. It is heavy, probably made of wood and then bound over in leather, and the corners are capped in brass. The leather is a reddish brown color. You cannot read it. It's too dark here. But there is definitely writing on the front. You might be able to feel out what it says, but you're standing in not pitch black dark, but very good dark, and information doesn't read. So.
Checking.
Magical thing.
Lucky to have a magical spear. Does my X create light?
It does not. I mean, not as its purpose. It might create light, but it's not for that purpose. So.
I know I've got the one that created the orange glow in the woods that the knoll archers really didn't seem to enjoy.
I mean, it'll make light over a pretty big area right here for a few minutes.
Yeah, but I just don't know what else it may do.
It startled them, which means it could startle the horse.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can feel it out first.
Okay, roll a d20.
18.
Okay, so first of all, you notice that it does have a heavy hasp. It's going to be locked. It has a spot for a small key. And then there are words embossed in the leather on the front, and you're beginning to make out the letters. However, we'll go back over here. Okay, So he had been gone for a couple of minutes. You made up your mind to continue on, feeling like he would be okay in his woods element. You had also decided not to pursue the orange light, correct? Okay. Pressing onward, the ground falls behind 50 to 60 yards a minute. Limited detritus, brush, that kind of thing. You're moving through a forest that's pretty clean. And the tenseness of the moment falls behind, so you're no longer worried about being attacked at any second or that kind of thing. A little curious about what might have happened to Herrick. The animals of the forest are making their cheerful foresty noises. And then ahead, you've been kind of working your way up most of the times. You felt like a gradual incline. Ahead, you can see a dark wall of stone, like a mountain or a cliff edge. Are you with me, Aaron? Yep. Getting tired over there. Okay. Anyway, you see a cliff edge or something, and it is blocking the whole back of the forest. So it is taller than where the tree branches start. So you don't actually know how high it is. But in front of it, there must be an area where the forest is fairly open. And you can see the remnants of a fire. So this is an orange light as well, but it is big, like several feet across on the ground. And there's dull orange glow coming from it. It's not actively burning, so it's like coals basically. But swarming over the area are what you would guess are maybe 4 or 5 dozen dogmen. Dogmen is 2.5 foot tall, has the shape of a head, sharp teeth and claws. They claw and bite. They crawl over top of each other. They're pretty vicious. They're pretty weak. So, for example, in game terms, they are less than a single hit dice creature, so fighters get a number of attacks equal to their level. So you get that many attacks in a round instead of your normal routine. But they tend to be pretty numerous and get a lot of attacks, and so they can be scary in that way. So they are crawling over top of this, what was a campsite or what was maybe the site of the sacrifice. But you don't see any hobgoblins. You only see the dogmen. You're at about 100 yards. As of yet, they have not noticed you. What do you do? The archer just faintly stretches his bowstring, notching an arrow.
I raise my sword and begin the charge.
Okay. You're going to swing up into the saddle?
No,
Can I get a shot before you start yelling?
Horse rest for this one.
Okay. So you're going to loosely tie his reins to a nearby branch?
Yeah.
Okay. So he is drawing his sword and tying his reins to a nearby branch. It appears that he is intent upon dealing with the dogmen, or at least thinks they'll be coming over here shortly. What is Lucas doing?
I guess I'll get ready to go. He's a little hesitant.
Okay. Lucas hesitates. What is Clume doing?
Clume will trade her daggers for her bow and stay back next to her.
Okay. So she puts the daggers away, draws the bow, notches an arrow. Okay. So what is Asterd stands by Clume, arrow at the ready. The dogmen have not come this way yet. It kind of almost seems like they're searching for something, but it is a very chaotic thing. Like they're crawling over top of each other and throwing stuff around. Mostly looks like wood and maybe some minor.
So,
you can't really tell what it is because it's dark, but
the bonus to AC that paladins get against evil creatures, is that like evil summon creatures specifically?
it is more directed toward evil summon than just any evil creature.
Okay.
It's not so much.
What is it that can't touch paladins? Like
That would be so no evil creature like a demon or something like that can physically touch you, but they get the minus to hit if they use a weapon.
Gotcha.
So the negative is like still there even though they use a weapon.
Okay.
So you can't be level drained by any evil So theoretically, a paladin cannot be level drained because they can't be touched. But some vampires can transfer their level drain through an item or a weapon or something like that. So yeah. Okay. So he is at the ready. Lucas is at the ready. They appear to be going to advance into this horde of an untold number, but probably 4 or 5 dozen at most.
Pretty short work.
Okay. So if the two of you stay back at this range, you would be firing at kind of longer range. The battle will probably be somewhere between here and there. So do you want to advance with them when they advance and then stop and like maybe have a little cover and fire from there? Is that the plan?
Are you gonna charge right away?
Me?
No.
Chyron looks
Yes,
intent upon
I'm going to
charging.
charge.
Right away.
I'm not sure what that
Those
means.
are like
I'm going to charge. I'm not sure what that means.
Can I get a shot off first? Maybe a short range, maybe go up there.
No, I don't want them to know that I'm coming earlier.
Huh?
Just shoot them when I'm closer. Why does it matter?
I'm talking about I get a shot off and then you go.
Sure.
If you shoot them, they will likely come out here.
I'm getting closer before I shoot.
Perhaps we should get a little closer before we begin.
Yes, well, I'm going to get closer because I cannot reach them from here. You
I
do what you need
understand
to do.
that.
Okay, so at what distance would you like to be?
I would like them not to be focused on it before I start shooting.
In other words, can you approach without?
You approach quietly.
No.
Ellen for the win.
All right.
Not
So
sure
what
if you
distance
heard,
would you
but
like to be when you start shooting?
when I
That's
walk,
the
I would
question.
like to be at least
some
in short
noise.
range or somewhere. I'm to hold your breath for 20 seconds while I go forward and then.
Okay.
Go shoot.
He wants you to wait there for a second while he runs up closer.
Okay. I'll wait here for 90 seconds.
I'm gonna look at them while I'm running up there and kind of see, like, gauge what's going on and see, like, if I can get a good shot at any of them before I.
Check out Amaldan Inc. for incredible opportunities to support the ministry.
I mean, the way when you look at them, it seems to you that it would be hard for you to miss.
Yeah.
Because they're in probably about a 20-yard area by about 15 yards, and there's like maybe 80 to 100 of them. So, like, if you fire an arrow in there, you're pretty sure it's going to hit no matter what.
Yeah.
You got this.
No problem.
I love describing hordes of kobolds. It cracks me up. It's like a few dozen, 40 to 50,
Do any of them look
60 to 80, 80 to 100.
They're like
they multiply?
20 foot by 30 feet. They're like probably 6 feet deep.
You describe it by volume.
They're 1,100 square feet.
Yes, 1,100 square feet of kobolds. Cubic feet.
All
Any
right.
kobold specifically look more dangerous than another?
No.
Alright, well then I'm gonna shoot.
Okay.
Chiron
2 shots.
was counting.
Okay, you
Out
killed
loud.
2 of them.
Chiron was counting out loud to
And then you hear Chyron go,
90,
I'm coming!
91,000.
You see a knight go running by in heavy armor. Are you going with him? Okay, Chyron and Lucas go running by in heavy armor. You killed 2 more while they're running in.
Alright.
You're gonna start hash marks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whom advanced with Asterd?
Okay, you wanna shoot 2?
Sure.
Okay. So,
Killed many on them.
you killed 4 as well.
There are more kobolds than you have arrows.
They'll be, well, I'll make you start rolling. Like, if you roll a 1 when you fire into the horde, there's still like a 90% chance you're gonna hit another one, so there's no sense in rolling d20 at this point. But once the horde starts to thin a little bit, then we'll talk about it.
Or
Also, if they
friendlies.
get close to you. Yes, yeah. Okay. All right. So both of you have killed 4. 4 arrows, 4 dead kobolds. Yeah, gotta keep track how many arrows you used. All right. And let's see if the kobolds notice the knight and the paladin charging in. Okay. So a large portion of the kobold horde, there's definitely not any more than 120 of them, are surprised. Okay? So during the surprise segment,
As we're running, Chyron yells, "Man, every step we take, it seems like there's more of these guys."
There can't be more than 140.
All right. So both of you can roll your level in d20s and tell me how many ones you roll.
Well, but I have flurry of blows.
It doesn't matter. So flurry of blows replaces attack routines.
1-1.
You have 1-1. Okay. So you killed 5.
14.
And then roll.
I rolled 7 d20s if you.
Oh, so you killed 6.
3.
And then roll 7 d10.
No ones.
6 d10. Sorry, roll 6 d10. No ones. And you're what level?
6.
So you killed 6, and then roll 6 d10. 6. And then
14. 20. 32.
Am I adding them all
Okay,
together?
you're just rolling d10s. I don't know how you're getting 22 and 32.
I was counting up.
Oh, you're not supposed to be counting up. You're telling me what they rolled.
Oh, okay.
Try again.
10, 3, 4, 8, 7.
Okay, so 2 of the ones that you killed passed through to another kobold and killed them. It's 4 or less. All right, so you actually killed a total of 8.
4, 7, 10 and 9, 10 and 6.
Okay, so you killed 1 additional.
7.
So far, Chyron is winning 8-7. And Clume and Lucas are both at 4.
Lucas is not counting.
And Clume and Asterd. Okay.
How
All
can you
right.
compete if you're next
So
time?
there's about 120 of them left.
Do you need a bucket of D20s? I can go get one.
Oh, I have plenty. I'm good. All right. Okay, so missile fire. Both of you can fire again if you want to. And you're entitled to 2 shots, and you both can kill 2 because the horde is still packed. You want to do that?
Are
Okay,
they not
so
getting
take
any
off.
faster on their arrows?
No, they're too far away. They'd have to be close to get past through.
That's free kills.
If they, but if they get closer, then some of the kobolds will come and attack them, and then they can't shoot them. So there's that too. All right,
They're not kobolds, they're dogmen.
same thing. Dogmen is the common name for a kobold. Okay. All right. So they are yipping. I'd actually stop the forest noises because as soon as this broke out, it got quiet that way. They are yipping, and there was quite a few of them that were surprised at your approach, and so they had not actually acted yet. We just did a surprise segment. And actually, there are 2 surprise segments, so you can go ahead and do one more surprise segment. Do the same thing. And
routines and surprise segments?
Yes, the rule is you get your number of attacks, 1 per level. That's how many attacks you get in a round. That is your attack routine. And so when you go to surprise, you get the full amount of attacks.
No ones.
No ones means they all hit and killed 1. So that was what? Would you say 7?
7.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Also no ones.
5. 1, 2. And you're 7 as well.
I'm 6.
6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Level rep.
Okay. And roll your d10s 4 or less passes through. Just keep track of the number and I'll come back to you in a second. Clume and Asterd both fired again, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay, you killed 2 more each.
5 out of 6.
Okay. All right. Definitely causing a world of hurt in this kobold horde. You've definitely got it down to maybe 140. They are coming out of the woods in the background too. It's clear that they were not all in the clearing now.
I saw that coming. I was like, we're going to charge into this.
There's not more than 300.
How big of a clearing are we?
So the clearing is 20 by 40 yards.
By the way,
But there's a rock wall behind it, and then there's woods around to the right and left. And then now they've begun to pour into that area from the sides as well.
Oh, we do have a dragon.
Yes. So just so everyone's aware, game mechanically, kobolds are D400 appearing. That's the rule. So it was never going to be 100 unless they were recently in combat and lost a bunch of people. So odds are you're not going to roll a 1. 2, 3, or 4 are definitely possible.
One
Could
is
be
equally
200,
as possible as those
300,
other
or
numbers.
400. That's true. Equally as possible.
Unless you say minimum of 2 for some reason.
Okay. All right.
You're only gonna find 100 25% of the time.
All right. So we're doing the actual first round.
Uh-oh.
So missile fire goes first. Klume and Asterd are both firing, I assume.
Yeah.
You each killed 2 more.
At this point,
You've killed 10. So that means you've used 10 arrows.
yep, Kuhn has 1 arrow.
Klume has 1 arrow left. Asterd has a bunch. You can just draw from his quiver.
That's what my plan was. Just start grabbing them.
All right. Not in missile fire. Initiative, Chyron and Lucas. So the way this works is once you start your initiative, you will kill 1 per segment. If you have any left over, you will kill them at the end of the round. That's how it will go. And then everyone that you kill allows another kobold to enter melee with you. Their maximum number they can have in melee with you at one time is 6.
So you really want a low initiative.
Essentially, that would be better but you can't control that, so you have to take your hits when you can. All right, and so we do this is kobolds on Chyron, this is kobolds on Lucas, and these are replacements. All the replacements are pretty much moving faster. Okay, all right. Just so you know, they're now 1 minute ahead of you. Okay, so you got 1 minute when we come back to you that we'll deal with the horse.
Now that I have a +1 shield, my AC is -3.
But only for the first 2 kobolds.
Yes.
That's the problem. They
0
swarm.
for the other guys.
They swarm. They tend to swarm. Okay,
But
so
it's
melee 9,
I've never had such low AC.
melee 8, melee 7, melee 6, melee 5.
I'm in 2.
I'm in 3.
So we try that.
All right, so in 5, the kobolds begin to attack. You know what? I'm just going to even though that's technically not doubling their initiative, I'm just going to let them attack because it's going to get too hard otherwise. Here we go. Chyron. All missed claws. All missed claws. All missed claws. All missed claws. Bites. All missed. And all missed. Okay, so 6 kobolds are swarming all over you, but none of them are managing to penetrate your armor at this time. You did shield parry 1 kobold's claw at the beginning of combat. You jumped up and you went, and then you crawled over top.
20?
What's that?
Is there attack code?
They needed 20. Okay, and I have not rolled any 20 yet. Okay, Lucas.
But with
Claws.
my sheer numbers.
Let me get if I get up to a
There
full
will surely
66,
be
I can roll
hits.
them all at once. 6 claws, no hits. 6 claws, no hits. 6 bites, no hits. They are crawling all over you, but they have not managed to penetrate your armor. Okay. At which point in time, you guys can just go ahead. I have plenty of replacements, so you can do the same thing that you've done in the other rounds. And I'll just do the extra attacks at the end.
I had 1/1. It bounced off of a 1, but I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna take the.
If another dice
Way out.
hit it and it turned from a 1, you can still count
Rolled
that.
off the 1 onto a 7.
I had no ones.
So that was 7 then.
Yep, 7
1, 2,
and
3, 4,
10.
5,
That is awesome.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
Did you get 6? You said, Arden?
Yep.
4 pass-throughs.
4 pass-throughs. 1, 2,
Not that
3.
4 pass-throughs.
Did you hear our pass-throughs from last round as well?
I don't think you did.
No, I didn't.
We both had 5.
1. Oh wait, no, I did have that.
Okay.
Yes, I did have. Okay.
I had a total of 10, and he had a total of also 10.
No, I had 11.
Last round or this round? This round.
You had 6 and 4. He had 7 and 4. Okay. So that means that they will replace those with a maximum of 6 kobolds and attack you again. Claws on Chyron. 1 hit.
Even
Did
though,
you take 1 point of
even
damage?
though some of our attacks came at the end of the round.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They're swarming all over you, so. You look now. You cannot see the trees. I mean, all you see is kobold. Occasionally, arm, head, butt, etc. Also on all missed and bites. All 1 hit. Sorry, 1 hit. 4 points. He bit you in the elbow. Okay. Lucas, claws. All missed. Claws. All missed. Bite. All missed. Okay. And there is no shortage of them. Now, as Asterd and Klume are targeting missile fire, you still have plenty of targets that are not actually in the mound, but what it looks like to you is like this whole swath of dogmen. They're 2.5 feet tall. They look a little bit like they have a snout. They have long, thin arms, rounded head, pointy dog ears, but they're basically reptilian in their skin is reptilian, and they are swarming together and mounding up. So the mound that is above where Lucas is actually about 12 feet high. So you just see them all mounded up on top of them, and they're trying to get in any way they possibly can. It's the same thing at Chyron. It's just like, imagine like locusts or cockroaches crawling up and totally covering their prey. Well, that's what's going on. Now, to you guys, you have, not only do you have that, but you're constantly stepping up onto dead kobold bodies. You're no longer standing on the ground. So you're 2 or 3 feet off the ground at least at any given time, and you're somewhat unbalanced, etc. But you're just swinging your sword, and so like you're swinging your sword to hit a kobold. There are 2 kobolds between here and here, okay, that are clawing at your armor, trying to get into your face, whatever. That's what's actually going on, okay?
Can you imagine?
That's Mario.
Stay tuned for more Lomunian adventures.